Joining us now to discuss the Defense Department barring Chinese nationals to service its cloud systems is China Analyst Jon Pelson, author of the book Wireless Wars. Good afternoon, John. Thank you for coming on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to be here.
All right, so to start off, I'm wondering, can you tell us what exactly is the Pentagon's cloud system? What's on there? How does that tie into national security?
Well, this is not a classified network. From my understanding, this is sensitive communications that are important for the operations of the Pentagon and contain sensitive information. But this is not the top classified network that we're talking about here. Still, this is something that has to be kept secure from enemies and rivals around the world.
So on that point, John, what were these engineers tasked to do? Why is it a security concern? I mean, could they potentially have what could they have done potentially if they had any nefarious intent?
Yeah, first of all, if Chinese contractors supporting the US Department of Defense did not inject malicious code into the system, they should be fired. This is what they do, this is what they're charged with doing. And the idea that we had someone from a rival nation given any kind of access, deliberately gave them access to our networks, is just appalling. The idea that they were managed with the kind of the handlers, the is a joke because these are top-notch coders that are working in China, and these are kind of contracted uh, escorts to keep an eye on them, and they're certainly not capable of keeping them out.
So I don't want to assume what you're saying, but could you clarify if you're thinking that the CCP could have gained insight into Pentagon systems?
Well, here's the type of information you can get, even if you don't have access to, you know, quote unquote classified systems. There's something called patterns of life. There's information that can be gleaned about people that are communicating with each other, where they are, what they're working on. Maybe you don't get a look at the content, which can't be discussed over a non-classified system. When you see who's emailing who, or who's storing documents, or meeting with whom because it's on their calendars, for example, that's really, really important and vital information to a rival. So while this does not imply that China was providing contractors for classified systems, which would be, inconceivable, even giving them access to anything about the operations in the Pentagon is invaluable information. This idea of metadata, where you don't see the actual content of a communication, for example, but you know who's talking to whom, what are they discussing, how many people are involved. You build networks, you build inferences that are really the lifeblood of an intelligence agency.
I mean, going off of what you're saying, John, why did the Pentagon, how did it even justify allowing foreign nationals from a country that is a rival or an adversary to work on U.S. systems that are sensitive in the first place?
Here's where we get to the heart of the problem here. Private companies, I don't like it when people on the Hill or in any of the agencies say companies in America need to do the right thing. They should think about national security. I actually don't agree with that. Companies doing the right thing means making money for their shareholders within the law. Now, the problem here is that this particular project, it's not like someone was selling computers and if a Chinese company wanted to buy them, they'd say, well, they're on an approved list, we can sell it to them, we'll sell it into China, that's great. That's what companies are supposed to do. The project that Microsoft was actually hired to do, though, involved supporting the Department of Defense. So the whole essence of the mission is national security. And that's where I find it dumbfounding that they would take a normal business practice saying, let's just outsource this to whoever the cheapest vendor is, and we'll make sure we follow the law. There's this system where there's people that track them and keep an eye on them that are practically minimum wage workers. Microsoft, if it was just helping out a T-shirt company, they could say, "Hey, we're going to outsource this to China. That's fine. It's not illegal." This is the Pentagon that they're supporting. They should raise the bar much higher and say, "We're not shipping this project out to people in the primary rival nation."
Do you think this incident could potentially impact the DoD's relationship with Microsoft going forward?
I think it has, And I just based that on Secretary Hegseth's comment that a full audit is going to be done with no cost to the taxpayers. Well, it's going to cost somebody money. And my guess is that somebody is Microsoft, which means they told them, you're going to look into this, you're going to have a third party investigate it. And there's going to be consequences if, as what I would not be surprised to find out, if there was injection of any kind of malicious code or if there was any kind of exfiltration of data and information that should not have been taken out of the system, out of the cloud.
What would have been the real world impact if there were malicious code left in the system?
You can't begin to measure it. First of all, you have the contingent risk that if there's something bad going on, say in the South China Sea, that there's the ability to affect, turn off, hit a kill switch in the worst case scenario, the non-classified cloud communications, or at least some of it, for the Pentagon. And if that were the case, that would be very disruptive, even though it's not kind of an operating system during a time of war. You should know that more than 90%, I've heard numbers of 98 or 98%, 98 or 99% of all DoD communications are going over public networks or in publicly managed clouds. So if China were able to affect or turn that off in a time of crisis, that would be a major problem. Even otherwise, though, they can be currently culling information about patterns of life, who's traveling where, who's talking to whom, and they can really get inferences about what our own DoD is up to in, say, the preparation or lead up to a conflict or in just normal day to day operations.
Wow, that is incredible. I mean, if code was left, malicious code left in the system, would it be easy to detect? For example, if a Chinese engineer put it there, how long would it take before US authorities find out?
Yeah, so there's a couple risks here. One is that code was left, and we've got great people to find it, which they now are going to be tasked. So that's going to be part of the mission. The other part is to look at whether there was any exfiltration of data. That's, I think, harder to find, perhaps. But again, the forensic experts, the cyber experts, are really good at that, and they're going to find out, or hopefully find out, if over the past 10 years there was information that was being pulled out that wasn't authorized, wasn't supposed to be moving out.
Okay, John, I'll just end with this question. Taking a step back, besides this, are there any other national security vulnerabilities or concerns on the cyber front?
We have seen our communications networks in this country, the ones that were built by the trusted vendors, completely penetrated through the program called Salt Typhoon most recently, and there were other attacks on the FirstNet network. And these are public networks and first responder networks that are really important to American security. China has been in and out of them almost at will. So we've got a lot of work to do to secure networks in this country against our rivals. And the top of that list is certainly China.
Well, okay, John, incredible discussion today. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.